Welcome to today's practice. For today, I suggest having a wall nearby, though you can do anything we're doing with the wall without it. Blocks and or a blanket that you could roll up would be really handy. A pillow or something like that would work too. And if you don't have any props, you can still practice. So you're welcome always. Go ahead and find a comfortable seat. A seat that's as comfortable as it can be in this moment. And start by connecting to your breath, but with your eyes open. Just look around, look up, look away from your screen. Actually settle yourself wherever it is that you actually are. And then find something to center your gaze upon, or close your eyes. Bring your attention inward. And keep your eyes closed or open them. And as you continue to breathe, add your shoulders into the equation. So as you inhale, take your shoulders up towards your ears. And as you exhale, let your shoulders relax down, and then even draw them down further. Do a couple breaths like that. And then move through a seated cat and cow. So round your back. Keep your arms forward on your knees, but really round all the way. You can even draw your belly back, your ribs back. And then the opposite. Come forward, bring your belly forward, your ribs forward. Lift your chin. And then switch. See if you can add breath to it. And I don't really care which breath you do for which movement. I'm going to go exhaling to round and inhale when I lift my chest. Use the movement, the sensation in your physical body to keep your attention here on the present, and use your breath to keep your attention on your inner landscape, if you will. And then the next time you come to center, oh, hey, Robin, so glad you're here. Go ahead and start to make some circles. And so rather than thinking about the circles coming from your shoulders, see if you can think about like moving your belly, your abdomen when you do your circles. That way you kind of get all the way down into your low back and your hips. And circle the other way. And then come back through center. Stretch your legs forward. Maybe shake them out for a minute. And switch sides. Putting the other side in front. And then you get that moment where maybe you have to figure out which side you did before. Sometimes I'm not sure. All right. And from here, go ahead and with your shoulders, we're gonna do one at a time now. So we're gonna go left shoulder up, right shoulder down, and then switch sides. Gotta get the ears in. Good. And so yeah, when you do one shoulder up, one shoulder down, I know for me, I'm kind of including my side body in this a little bit. So that's good. And then come back through center, and now take both of your shoulders and roll them forward. And so you can do like a just nice solid forward shoulders, and then when I say to switch, do backward shoulders. Or you can do a little brain exercise here, and you can try and keep your left shoulder going forward, but your right shoulder backwards. Both at the same time. And switch that. I had to practice this before I started. It really took me a while to get it in my brain. Okay, now both shoulders back. And now keep your right shoulder going back, but take your left shoulder forward. And then you can notice if you're humored by this or annoyed by it. Let that just tell you something. Okay, switch directions. Uh-oh. The direction switch got me this time. The good news is we're just moving our shoulders, so it's not actually a big deal if it's not right. Okay, good. And then take one big inhale, shoulders up towards your ears. Exhale, shoulders release down, and slide your hands forward a little bit. Then walk your hands over to the left. Bring your left hand out to the left and bring your right arm up and sweep. So you can sweep it and then notice, like, how far away from your head do you need to take your arm to open your chest as much as it's going to toward the ceiling. And so some of that is also pushing into the bottom arm. And come back down and walk to the second side. So we're just gonna walk side to side, and then you find where you're gonna plant your right hand and start to take your left hand over. And for me, if I sweep really close to my head, it's a little harder to open. So I'm gonna take my arm a little more up toward the ceiling, push into my bottom arm, and see if I can turn. And sweep it back down, come through center, first side again. See how it feels this time around? Yeah. Come back down, sweep through center. You also might be able to turn better if you don't walk your hand out as far, so you can play with that, like what feels better, walking out more or turning more. And back down, let's do one more on each side. And back through center. Second side, sweep. And back through center. Reach your arms forward, reach your butt back. Take a breath in and out. And walk your hands back up, stretch your legs forward and shake them out. Let me do some back of the knee slaps. I like back of the knee slaps because you have some lymph nodes back there, so why not wake them up, get stuff moving. All right, from here, if you're sitting on anything, you can move it out of the way and make your way to hands and knees, and then to your belly. And so from your belly, maybe at first come up onto your elbows. And ideally, you'll find a place where you're not maxed out in a back bend, right? So that might mean walking your elbows more forward. If you like a little more back bend and it's feels pretty easy. You can walk your elbows more underneath you. But you want to have a little space here. And then see if you can stay on your elbows and just work from here. You can also stretch your right arm forward so that you stay at the same height, but you're going to suddenly have a little bit less support underneath you. It's going to be a little more strengthy, right? So you can decide what you want to do there, because then you would walk your other arm forward too. So it's either elbows or hands, and you just figure out which one you want to do. And so from here, we'll take a breath. Inhale. And as you exhale, lower down. And as you inhale, lift up. Bend your right knee. Exhale, lower down. Inhale, lift up, bend your left knee. Exhale, lower down. Inhale, lift up, bend your right knee, reach back with your right hand and see if you can touch your foot. And then lower back down on your exhale. Inhale, lift up, bend your left knee, reach with your left hand, see if you can touch your foot. Exhale, down. One more like that on each side. Inhale, lift, right hand, right foot. Exhale, lower. Inhale, lift, left hand, left foot. Exhale, lower. And inhale, lift. Now see if you can take your right hand, but go to the inside of your foot with your thumb up and touch. And then come back down on your exhale. Inhale, lift, left arm reaches. Maybe thumb up, touch your inner foot. Lower back down. Notice if you're not touching your foot, but you're reaching and bending your knee, great. All right, right side again. And lower down. Lift up, left side. Exhale, lower down. Okay, now, inhale, lift, bend your right knee, reach your left hand back and try and touch. So it's opposite hand to foot this time, and then lower down. Inhale, lift, bend your left knee, reach back with your right hand. And lower down. One more like that. Right now, I'm touching my inner foot and my thumb is down, which means my shoulder is internally rotated. Second side. And so notice what you're doing, because for the next two, we'll do the opposite. So now, since my thumb was down and I was touching my inner foot, now as I lift, bend my right knee, then I'm gonna reach for my outer foot, thumb up, and lower down. And so you can decide what you are gonna do. Okay, lower down, one more on each side. And the next time you're down, bring your hands back a little closer to your shoulders and lift up to cobra. Pull your heart forward, reach your legs away from you. Breath in. Exhale, lower down. And then press back. We'll come back toward child's pose. So from your belly, just sit back in, I say child's pose, but let's actually do Adho Mukha Vajrasana. So that's knees and feet together. I say together, but as close as they come together, that feels manageable for you. And then sit back. So if I were sitting up on my heels like this, that's Vajrasana. And so we're gonna go to the downward facing version, which is sort of child's pose-ish, but you might notice with less room. So that might mean that your hands have to walk back a little bit to give you some space. And if you're like, I hate this and I don't want to do downward facing Vajrasana, then widen your knees apart. That's totally fine. You can do that too. Okay, from here, we're going to go for a belly lift and then walk over to the right. And so as you walk over to the right, walk your hands over, but then also think about lifting your belly and like scooching your belly button over to the right a little bit too. And you can breathe right here, or you can crawl your hands out a little more if there's space. And even here, maybe you can push down with your right hand. Lift your right armpit up away from the ground and stretch more with your left arm. It's almost like you're trying to turn your chest more toward the ground. And then breathe. And notice the sensation in your body, but also maybe the sensation in your mind. Anything else that comes up. And back to your center and go to the second side. We'll walk on over to the left. And you can walk over to the left as far as you want, but make sure here that once you walk your hands over, you also include your belly. So lift your belly and move your belly button to the left. And maybe walk out more. Maybe take a moment and say, okay, can I push my left hand down, lift my left armpit, and stretch my right arm forward? Like I can walk it forward, but I can also push with my right arm, reach my right arm forward. See what happens, what it feels like to do each of those. And pause and breathe. And come back to center. And then find your way up to sitting on your heels. And if sitting on your heels is a real no-go, it's fine to just come to knee stand, okay? And you can do this with, like if it's easy to reach the floor behind you, then feel free to reach the floor behind you. But it also might be nice to have some support, some blocks or something like that that you can put behind you. And so I'll show it to you from here, from this Vajrasana first. And then for anybody that is starting in a knee stand, I'll show that too. What we're gonna do is go hand to the ground or hand to your block behind you. I'm gonna start right hand and then lift your hips forward and sweep your arms. So this should be sort of familiar, like what we did in sitting. But now as you sweep, you may have to say, oh, okay, I need to do something else with my arm to turn my chest more up toward the ceiling. And then sweep back down and go to the second side. So you can see how if I use a block, I've got a little more space. If I use the floor, it's gonna be a little tighter. And if I start from knee stand, I use my hand to my low back perhaps, and then I would sweep forward and stick my butt back like this. And can come here. Or you can bring your blocks more by your shins and work it this way. So you've got options here. But let's do a few on each side. Sweep at your own pace. And if you find a sticky spot, notice if your inclination is to go fast through the sticky spot, to avoid it or change to avoid the sticky spot, or could you potentially pause in a spot that feels stuck and then see, can you breathe and then maybe change something to get a different result. A lot of times when I get into a sticky spot, I see if I can separate my shoulder blades almost, like reach them further apart and stretch through my arms. Because in this particular pose, a lot of times the sticky spot is in the upper back, the shoulders, things like that. So you can play with that. Do a couple more on each side. Maybe your sticky spot is that your thighs are getting tired or your knees are tired of being on the ground. And that could be true too. Let's finish up the one you're on right now. And then when you come back to center, come to downward facing dog, or feel free to just lie on your belly and tap out the tops of your feet, or you can come to downward facing dog and walk out your dog. Just something to give your legs a little relief from being knees down. And then lower your knees and come to sitting. Okay, so find yourself a seat. And from here, we're gonna take a little minute right here in the middle. So we've sort of, I think, warmed up a lot of aspects of our body and our breathing apparatus, trying to get into some of the openness in that area. And so ideally what we're gonna go for now is a bhastrika breath, which is a bellows breath. And so this one is a more intense, sort of forceful breathing. And if you can picture a bellows, the idea is that we're opening the bellows and then forcing the air back out of it. And so if you think about that in your body, we're going to imagine, or I'm going to imagine, and you can if you want to, I'm going to imagine that I'm trying to expand my rib cage. I'm even going to imagine sideways. It's really in all directions, but I'm going to think about sending my air down in such a way where my rib cage goes. And then I'm breathing it out. And so I'm expanding sideways, which means I'm not going, I'm not like cat-cowing here. I'm actually trying to keep that more steady and go. Which might feel a little bit different than, and a little challenging to do. Or maybe it's really natural. Either way, we're going to try it. So the idea is not to necessarily do this quickly, but to get as much oomph as you can in both of those directions. The bellows in, the bellows out. Bhastrika is the name of the technique. And so we'll start with just a few, because what we're going to do is we're going to do, say, 5. And then at the end of the 5th exhale, we're just going to pause and you hold your exhale for as long as you can, where the inhale can still be like soft and smooth. So I don't want to hold my exhale and then go like I've just been underwater for a long time and come out and panic inhale, right? So when you do this, I'll do a set. So I'll do 2. It'll be like, then I hold the exhale and I wait. And then I say, okay, gentle, smooth inhale. Gentle exhale. And we'll do another round. So if you feel dizzy or lightheaded, you're gonna wait and do another round once you're not dizzy anymore. So maybe today you do 1 round. Maybe you do a couple rounds. Our rounds today are going to be 5 breath rounds. And so if you feel like this is really challenging or it makes you really dizzy, it might be 1 breath or 2 breaths. So feel free to adjust it as you need to. But here we go. Let your air out. And then take a long breath in. Breathe out halfway. And then forcefully breathe out. And now, bellows in and force out. Keep going. pause. Keep your exhale exhaled. And just hold that as long as you can, where you could still do a smooth inhale. Whenever you need to inhale and take a couple of breaths, do that. But make those breaths slow, controlled, quiet. So not only are we training some elements of diaphragmatic control, but we're also trying to condition our nervous system. We're doing something that's a little more amplifying to the nervous system, and then seeing if we can use that slow, smooth breath to bring it back down to baseline. So let's do another round, unless you're dizzy, in which case, ignore me. Inhale. Exhale all the way, and then go for it. Pause in your exhale. When you need to breathe in, do. Make it slow, smooth, controlled. Two more rounds. Inhale. Exhale. Force the rest of it out. Hold that exhale out. When you need to inhale, do it slowly, smoothly. Nice controlled use of your breathing muscles. And we'll do one more set. This time, if you want to try more breaths, like if you haven't been feeling dizzy, we'll go up to 10, or just do what you've been doing. Okay, breathe in. Exhale partway, force out the rest, and then go for it. Hold your exhale. When you need to, slow breath in, slow breath out. Notice if the breath hold at the end gets easier, more difficult the more you practice. Notice how it feels in your body, but also what's going on in your mind. Take note of that. Notice if you've got any emotions lingering around. Just give yourself a few breaths here with whatever came up for you. And then slowly, gently make your way to downward facing dog. No hurry. Maybe walk out your dog a little bit here. And then bring
your feet to your hands or your hands to your feet or some combination of those things so that you're in Uttanasana, forward fold. Pause in your forward fold, check in with your breath. And then slowly look forward, come up, stretch your arms high. Exhale, lower your arms. All right, for this next bit, having a wall could be really nice. You do not have to have it, but I'm going to demonstrate a lot of it with having the wall there, so you can have it present. I'm just going to show you real quick the movements that we're going to go through in case you have to walk away or turn around or whatever for your wall. So where we'll start is we're going to get into this figure 4 shape. So maybe this will be easier to see. We're going to get into this figure 4 shape. The idea being that I'm going to be able to push the wall away from me and get some length and come forward like this. Okay, and then we're going to try and go for arms back, more like a squat, arms forward. So I'm basically sending my hips back and forward like this is going to be the move from here. And then if you want to walk down some in the end, you can do that. We're going to walk back up and we're going to go unfold, warrior 3. This could be a toe tap, okay? Warrior 3. And then that leg comes behind. And then we'll do another. The idea here is when we do walk downs, what I want is for the walk down to be little by little, slow. I don't care where you end, but little by little, walk down. And then little by little, walk back up. Because it's interesting to kind of explore what happens in all the different realms. Okie dokie? So it's going to be like a figure 4 dance move. We're going to try that little walk down, walk up, warrior 3, and then we'll come and do a walk down, walk up, and then maybe something else. Okie dokie? Let's give it a try. So as you can see, you could probably do that without a wall. It's just kind of nice to have one. So left ankle over your right thigh. And you can use your wall here to kind of help you out, and then send your butt back, reach your arms forward into your wall. I'm using a windowsill, so that's fine too. Good. So on your next inhale, see if you can come up, send your right knee and your hips forward and your arms backward. Exhale, butt back, arms forward. Inhale, knee forward, hips forward, arms back. Go upright in your torso. Exhale, reach your torso forward, your butt back. Do 3 more like that with your breath. And the next time you're forward, stay forward and maybe little by little walk down the wall. At some point, you might decide, oh, hey, there's a lot of stretching happening. I'm going to stop walking. Or you might take your hands all the way to the floor and then back up, little by little. Unfold your left leg and reach it straight back behind you or to a toe tap for warrior 3. Push your right heel into the ground, even if your butt's tired. And then take your left leg behind your right, like a little crossed forward bend move. And slowly start to walk your hands down, little by little, down the wall. See how long you can keep your hands on the wall, or go to the floor in the end if you can. And then walk back up. Breathe as you go. And once you've walked all the way back up, come to standing. See if you can stay in that crossed leg position. Reach your left arm high and side bend over to the right. And then come back through center. Now, see if you can lift your heels slightly and spin to your left to unwind your feet. That's just for fun. Otherwise, just step to where your feet are about hip distance apart. Yeah? Okay. And then come high up onto your tiptoes. I say tiptoes. I'm not getting anywhere near my tiptoes. I'm going for the balls of my feet. Okay? Come high up on the balls of your feet. Maybe stretch your arms up. You can work your balance right here, or start to slowly, as though you were walking your hands down the wall, forward fold. Slowly, slowly. Staying on your tiptoes if you can. Slowly. Maybe you touch all the way down. Maybe not. But then come back up. And again, slowly, as though you were walking your hands up the wall. Breathe as you go. And as you exhale, lower your heels. Sit your hips low and reach your arms forward or up, chair. And stand. Okay, second side, turn back to your wall and then cross right ankle over your left thigh. Hands to the wall. Send your butt back. Get long in your spine. And so then again, with your breath, inhale, move your hands away from the wall, lift your heart, send your hips forward, send your knee forward. Exhale, butt back, lengthen, go toward the wall. Inhale, hips forward, knee forward, arms back. Exhale, butt back, arms forward. Stretch. 3 more at your own pace. We just did that bhastrika breath. See if you can tap into any space for breathing, any control of your breathing that you gained, if that happened for you. 1 more, or finish your 3. The next time you're forward, you can stay right where you are, or you can slowly start to walk down your wall, 1 little bit at a time, all the way to the floor if you like, or wherever you stop, then go back up. But slowly, incrementally, a little tiny finger crawl at a time. Oh, you could crawl even with your fingers, that's kind of fun. Once you get back up, breathe. Unravel your right leg and stretch it straight back behind you, warrior 3 or toe tap. Push down into the front of your left heel. Stretch from your pelvis out through your right leg. Stretch from your belly button up through your hands. And then cross your right leg behind your left. Inhale. Exhale, slowly walk your hands down. 1 little bit at a time. If you're saying to yourself, my back's getting tired, exactly. If you're not saying to yourself that, that's fine too. Then walk it back up. 1 little bit at a time. All the way up if you can here. And then go right arm up, left arm down, side bend over to the left. Inhale, come back up through center, both arms high. And see if you can lift your heels and spin to the right, unraveling your feet. Okay, now 1 more time here. You're gonna go up to the balls of your feet, arms up, inhale.
You can play right here, but you might start to forward fold slowly, one little bit at a time, as though you were wall walking. Breathe. You come all the way to the floor, or as close as you're gonna get. Take a breath and then come back up. See if you can do it one little smooth bit at a time. What feels different about that? Once you get up to the top, lower your heels, lower your arms, and sit low, chair. Inhale here. Exhale, fold forward, widen your knees, and come into a squat. Noticing that that squat could be elbows on your knees, yeah? Or some variation. And we're gonna come all the way out into downward facing dog. Breathe here. Okay, lower your knees. Now, grab, if you will, your blanket, and you can make this blanket into any size roll that suits your fancy. It could also be a pillow, just kind of scrunched up. But the idea is that we'll get a blanket roll, and then we're gonna go belly to the blanket roll. And what I'm trying to do is put as much of the blanket roll into as much of the squishy part of my belly as I can. Okay, so yeah, bolster will work too. Bolster, pillow, blanket, all these things could be super intense or not, depending on what you've got. So you might have to play with it a little bit, but ideally we're just gonna start to relax your butt first. For me, and maybe that's just me. I don't know if everybody else clenches their butt when they put something in their belly or not, but I sure do. So I'm gonna first unclench my butt and try to start relaxing my belly, and I'm starting to say to myself, okay, well, having something stuck in my guts is slightly uncomfortable, so I'm just gonna breathe. And I made my roll pretty big, so if you've got a big roll, a big bolster, a big pillow, a big whatever, it might be that you just have, you stay on your elbows and you relax your abdomen as much as you can. You might be able to fold more and get your forehead down into your hands. But do what you can to relax your abdomen, relax your rear, your legs, and let that roll squish into your belly. You can stay just like this, or you're welcome to bend one or both knees. You can rock your legs slowly from side to side too. That'll just kind of move the squish around. So if the squish is already really uncomfortable, you may not want to move it around. But whatever you do, do it slowly, because we're just trying to actually move some of that stuff in your guts around. Check in with your breath. Breathe smoothly. If you need to come out or get a smaller roll or just lay flat on your belly without a roll, you can do that too. And release. Slowly come out of that. We did a nice short version of that today. So now you can use your roll or you can use blocks for this. So I'll show you both. Like if you have a bolster or if you have a little blanket roll like I made,
then that's gonna go in your upper back, and we're gonna go, hips up if need be, head down like this. So if you have a bolster, essentially the bolster you want to be sort of like in your mid back, and then it can be under your head, that's fine. Or you can make it go sideways so that your head goes down more. Or I'm gonna demonstrate with blocks, where I'm gonna take my blocks, they don't have to be on high height, but I'm gonna put mine on high because that's just my body, right? So I want this to go between my shoulder blades, which could be here, or I could take it down a level and put it across my shoulder blades. But I'm gonna go between my shoulder blades. Actually, I'm gonna put my head this way, I think. And then this one's gonna go under my head, okay? So I'm going shoulder blades, and then I'll lift my hips up and put my head on this other block. So I'm sort of like in a little bridge pose shape, and I'm starting with my hips lifted. And you might play with that, because what we're gonna do here is, if you can do it with your hips lifted, take your arms wide, straight arms. See if you can get the backs of your hands to the ground, or not even the hands, but even like the fingertips, back of your fingernails, I guess is what we could go for, to the ground. And slowly start to make a snow angel, where you're going around in a circle. And at some point in time, now it may be that your fingers aren't to the ground, but they're at a certain level, and it's fine. Start to snow angel. Once you find that spot where you're like, ooh, that's really tight, pause. See if you can spread your shoulder blades apart, like reach your shoulder blades wider, stretch your arms a little bit more, and maybe you'll be able to move through the sticky spot a little bit, or maybe you stay in the sticky spot, but something happens and you feel something. And it's okay if you play with that and you really just want to like lift your arms and bring them up a little higher. You can play with that too, but my encouragement for you here is to play with going snow angels up and down, feeling for a sticky spot, and then actually trying to work in that space for a little bit, rather than moving out of it, past it, around it. And if you find, okay, well, my mobility is such that I'm gonna start to lower my hips. So I could put my butt on a prop, like I could use my blanket roll, which I just moved away from me. The back blanket roll. And so I could put my blanket roll under my hips so that I'm not all the way to the ground, and I could go again. And now I find a sticky spot more easily, and so I'm gonna play with it. Breathe. Notice if my aim is to keep my hands on the ground, which isn't always the case, but right now, I'm going to say that my aim is to keep my hands on the ground, or as close to the ground as they start off initially. So then, what has to happen in my upper back, mid back, shoulder blades as I sweep my arms overhead? And you could take your butt all the way to the ground and work the same thing. So the higher you're propped and the closer your butt is to the ground, like those two things in combination are going to make this more intense. And so if you want less intense, you need your butt higher and your upper back down lower. More intense, butt lower, upper back higher. I say more intense. Usually it's just tighter, like the sticky spots come easier. So if you're super mobile in this direction, it might take more upper back height, butt low to find the sticky spots. Once I've had about enough of that, you can let your arms kind of come back by you. Maybe here, lift your hips and see what you can do about placing your hands
by your head, kind of like you're gonna push up into Urdhva Dhanurasana. So my fingertips are facing back toward my feet. My elbows are kind of facing up toward the ceiling. Lift your hips and breathe right here. You can absolutely push up into Urdhva Dhanurasana if you want to, but that's not really the purpose of this one. If you're doing this, grip the floor with your finger pads. Almost imagine you're gonna drag the floor in the direction of like the crown of your head. Because that's gonna do something in your arms and maybe even in your spine. And then wherever you've got your arms there, start to lower your hips if you had them lifted. Keep dragging the floor away from your feet. Your arms aren't moving, but that's the action. And lift your hips up again. And lower. And slowly release. So you can bring your hands underneath your hips. You can roll off to the side, whatever helps you get up. Whatever helps you get up and off of that thing. Move your blocks out of the way, if you will, and lie back onto your back. Then for a moment, just let your back settle into this more neutral state. Let your breath settle. And take your hands behind your right thigh. Interlace your hands and push your thigh forward, letting your elbows straighten and your arms get pulled on. Straighten your left leg, rooting your left thigh toward the ground. Stretch your right foot up toward the ceiling and root your right thigh toward your hands. Breathe. Release. Switch sides. Interlace behind your left thigh. Use the grip of your hands to hold there, but let your elbows straighten and your arms get pulled on. As you push your left thigh forward, your right thigh down toward the ground. Release. Place your left foot to the floor and cross your right thigh over the top, nice and tight like eagle pose. Scoot your hips to the right, take your knees to the left. Your eagle twist. You could even allow your head to turn in one direction or the other. Gently squeeze your knees into one another as you do this twist. And imagine you're reaching your right arm in the opposite direction of your legs. At the end of your next exhale, come back through center and switch sides. Bring your hips back to center and then cross left thigh on top of right. Scoot your hips to the left. Lower your legs to the right. And again, you can adjust in your upper back, but gently squeeze your knees toward one another. It doesn't matter if they go all the way to the ground or not. See if you can find that interplay between lowering your knees to the right and reaching from your chest out through your left hand. And come back through center.
Unravel. Bring your hips through center and hug both knees into your chest. You can hold the fronts of your shins or the backs of your knees. Just gently rock from side to side. And coming back to center, place your feet down to the floor, maybe a little wide, like shoulder distance apart. Drop your knees in for constructive rest. Your hands can be on your torso. And here we're just going to do a little breathing technique to try and lengthen out the exhales. And so you'll have lots of options here, and you can stay with the options that work for you. Let all your air out, and then what we're going to do is do a little very gentle pulses. We'll do 3 pulse inhale and then a 6 pulse exhale. So on the inhale it would be like and you go to 6. Now, I was trying to make it sort of louder so you could hear it, but the idea is actually to not do that loudly and forcefully, but to make the pulses just like little gentle waves in amidst the inhale and amidst the exhale, like a little wake or something, you know? Just like a little disruption. And so make your pulses gentle, and you'll notice on the exhale, the more gently you can do your pulses, the more easy it will be to lengthen out that exhale. Like how I was demonstrating it so you could hear, it was hard to get to 6 pulses on the exhale because I forced air out, so I ran out of breath. So this, unlike bhastrika, is not really forcing air in and out. It's like taking little pauses in the breath cycle. So see if you can start with 3 inhale, 6 exhale. Do a couple rounds like that. And if you're finding that really challenging, don't change anything, just gently work on that. If you want to try and add a little breath hold, do 3 pulse inhale, and then a 3 count hold at the top of the inhale, a 6 count exhale, and then see if you can do up to a 6 count hold at the bottom of the exhale. So you're expanding that breath out just by pausing at the top and the bottom. Give it a try if you want. If you want to switch to 4 and 8, 5 and 10, 2 and 4, feel free to play with the count. We'll do a couple more with the pulses. And whether you're working with the breath holds or not, if you're finding this really doable, accessible, then maybe you take the pulse away, try to keep the same count, but with a smooth breath. At the end of your next round, let go of any control over your breath and just let it be natural, smooth breath. If it would feel nice to stretch your heels out to the corners of your mat, or let your palms fall open in Shavasana, you can. If you're comfortable where you are, rest there. And take a moment to check in with all the parts of you. Sensations in your physical body. The thoughts that are in your mind where your attention is focused. Notice any emotion that's cropped up or lingering. Whether it's strong or an undercurrent. Even notice how connected you feel or don't feel to whatever it is that you conceive of as greater than sometimes we call the little s self. Spirit, universe, God, whatever it is. Just notice. Knowing that there's no right way to be. So notice how you are.
If you're resting well and would like to stay longer, please do. Otherwise, slowly and gently move first, maybe onto one side. Make your way up to sitting as you're ready. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shantihi. Peace, peace, peace.